goal of this exercise we're about to undertake is to come up with income statements for each of our profit centers. So in order to do that, first we should look at the formula. Our departmental income for our profit center is our department sales, right? We always start income statement with sales, minus our direct expenses, our direct costs, minus our allocated indirect expenses, minus our allocated service expenses. And that formula is the order in which we're going to do things. So it's important, take a minute, write that down. Okay, so I have 4 steps here of how to allocate costs and prepare our departmental income statement. So the first thing we're going to do is accumulate revenue, direct expenses, and indirect expenses by department and function. Okay, so we're not allocating anything yet. We're just saying, again, if we're a department store, here's the revenue from jewelry, here's the revenue from menswear, and here's their direct costs, their cost of merchandise, their direct employees. And then we're saying, what are our other costs? Well, we have rent, and it's this much, and we have utilities, and it's this much, and we have security, and it's this much. And those are gonna be, we're gonna set those aside as our indirect expenses. Then we're going to look at our service departments. That's our HR department, maybe our accounting department, maybe our IT department. And we're going to look at all of their direct expenses, most of which will probably be employee costs. Okay, now once we have all of that done, the next step is to allocate our indirect expenses across all of our departments. It's really important that we do indirect before service departments, because when we allocate our indirect expenses, part of those will be allocated to our service departments, okay? So if we're allocating rent, we not only allocate it to the jewelry department and the menswear department and the furniture department, but presumably our HR department is taking up some space, so they get a little bit of rent expense. And our accounting department is taking up some space, so they get a little bit of rent expense. Same thing with utilities and anything else we consider indirect. That gives us a new total in those service departments, right? So now it's going to be the cost of our employees plus our indirect expenses. We take that new total, and that's the amount that we allocate when we allocate our service department costs. So now when I'm allocating HR to all of my profit centers, it's going to be my direct cost for HR plus my my allocated indirect expenses. When I allocate the cost of IT, it's going to be the direct expenses of IT plus any allocated indirect expenses. All right, go ahead and write this down in your notes, and then we're going to start doing an example.